I've often grown up hearing different fairy tales. I've seen my sister reading fairy tales as she grew up, different ones, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, all these fairy tales, and they usually have a happy ending. But there is one that a particular one that comes to my mind, and it is Princess and the Frog. It talks about a charming princess who goes out into the woods and finds a frog, a talking frog, and she's surprised by this talking frog. And this frog tells him that as I was once a prince, but I fell under a curse of a fairy, a wicked fairy, and she made me into a frog. And the princess asks the prince, can this be reversed? And he says, sure, if only I find a princess who can carry me and take me home and be with me 3 days and 3 nights, then I will turn into a prince again. And surely the princess took the frog and went, and everybody was asking, why are you having such a loathsome creature in your hands? A filthy creature, dirty one, in your hands. And she did stay with it for 3 days and 3 nights, and it turned into a prince. The princess saw what everybody else did not see. The princess saw a prince in that frog, and that is why she was able to carry it and take it home with her. There's so many frogs in our times, in where we live in our society, that are waiting to be looked at with creative love. This is what I want to talk about, creative love, that our eyes can see what other people cannot see. I want us to do a little exercise here. Imagine for a moment that you're seated in front of a person you love so much, somebody dear to you. And seated next to him, you look at that person, what will you tell that person? You will start telling them the qualities, the things that you see in them, that you love in them. Maybe they're kind, maybe they're cheerful, maybe they bring laughter to you. All these things you'll express to that person. Then for a while, I also want you to imagine the same scenario, but in front of you now is not the person that you love, but the person that you hate most. Somebody you would not share the same room with. When you look at that person, what do you see? I think you will scratch your head for a while and look at that person and have nothing good to say to them. There's no quality that will come to your mind to express it to that person. But I want you to imagine the same scenario, but now Jesus sitting next to you and looking at that very same person. What does Jesus see? Jesus will begin to see what you cannot see, because good people see good things even in bad and evil people. When you begin to see what Jesus sees in that other person, then express it to that person and say, as evil and as bad as I think you are, but there is a gentle and a good person inside of you. Then I want you to imagine again Jesus seated on a seat and looking at you. And he begins to speak the qualities that he sees in you. Jesus will begin on and on and on talking about you in a very positive manner. And at some point you'd want to tempted to stop Jesus and say, Jesus, no, I don't think I'm that good. I don't think I'm that kind. I don't think I'm that sort of a person. Because Jesus sees in you good qualities of which you do not see. And he speaks highly of you to the extent that you feel shy about it and say, Jesus, no, I've had enough of you praising me so much. I also am an evil person. I'm also a bad person. Because Jesus sees in us things we do not see. He sees good people see good things in good people. If there's somebody you love in your life, or as I live with my priests, my brother priests, because I love them and I care for them, I will never see anything bad in them. I will always see the good in them. The teachings today talk to us about love. The first reading, the gospel of today, the gospel of Matthew that I've just read, the Sadducees and the Pharisees, who rarely come together, have come together in agreement to trap Jesus. The Sadducees who do not believe in the resurrection come together with the Pharisees, and in one of the Pharisees is a lawyer, conversant with the law. He knows every law from the Old Testament to the New Testament, 613 of them, that if you are to teach one law every day, it will take you over 2 years to get the lesson done. And maybe the first one you would have forgotten about it. Conversant with the law, but comes to Jesus to trap Jesus, which is the greatest commandment of the 613. And Jesus sums it all up, because there is somebody who said the whole Bible can be summed up in one word, and that is only one word, is love. And Jesus says, love the Lord your God with all your mind, with all your heart, with all your soul, with everything, with all your soul. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And we all know what Jesus says about neighbor. When he talks about the Good Samaritan, a neighbor is that one who stands in need, who comes and carries that man who has been beaten by robbers and takes him in and takes care of him. We know what Jesus talks about when he takes love neighbor as yourself, and how he always saw things differently. When Jesus looked at Peter, what did he see? He saw a rock. And on this rock will I build my church. When Jesus looked at a prostitute, what did he see? He saw somebody beautiful and wonderful in the inside. When Jesus saw an adulterer, he said, will you be the first one to cast a stone? When Jesus looks at you, he looks at you as if there is nothing else that he created, because he sees the good in you. And Jesus says the greatest commandment is love of God and love of neighbor, and love your neighbor as yourself. But I sometimes do not love myself enough. I do not love myself enough. Then I should begin to look at myself and say, why do I don't love myself enough? And to love my neighbor as myself. How can I love the God that I do not see if I do not love the neighbor that I live with and walk with and journey with and a colleague of mine in the workplace? Paul says that you're a liar if you say that you love God whom you do not see, if you cannot love the neighbor that you see each and every day. And this is what the first reading of today tells us about love, an invitation to love from the book of Exodus. That the Israelites had journeyed with God from Egypt and had gone all the way in that long journey and tedious journey, and they went to the promised land. They were in a foreign land in Egypt. And how soon they have forgotten that they were in a foreign land once upon a time. And this is what they're being reminded by God. Why do you treat foreigners and people who are different, who have come, aliens who have come to settle in your lands? They are peaceful, they have not done anything to you, but just they live among you. The fact that they live among you does not mean that you should treat them any differently, because they are created in my own image and likeness. They look like me. God did not create us to destroy us, but he created us because he loved us. So the Israelites had forgotten so soon that they too were aliens in a foreign land, and out of love did God remove them and journeyed with them and gave them an inheritance. And he talks about groups of people. He talks about a stranger. Often we have grown up with children telling them, do not talk to strangers, and that is a good thing. To tell your child, do not talk to a stranger, because we live in an evil society. Most people have very bad intentions. But sometimes strangers, you can welcome strangers and you might welcome an angel. Not all strangers are bad. With our love, we can change them. With the eyes of Jesus, we can be able to change them with our prayers. He talks about strangers. Do not alienate them. Do not throw them away, but have a welcoming heart. And he talks about a widow who has just lost his husband. She's alone in the world. The one who used to protect her and the person that he cherished and loved in her life has died. And she's there all alone in the world, thinking to herself, how will I raise my children? God says, love them. Do not mistreat them. And where I come from, I see widows being mistreated. They're robbed of everything, even their own dignity and even their own name. Everything is taken away from them as if they were not people and human beings. And God talks about orphans. I do not have a mother, I do not have a father. It's a very bad feeling to journey in life without these important people in your life. And yet he says, even the orphans, do not mistreat them, love them. Become their parents, become their fathers, become their mothers. Nurture them, teach them respect and love of God. Because they too are my children, created in my own image and likeness. And lastly, he talks about the poor. And when God talks about the poor, he knows what poverty is. Because in his richness, he sent his son into the world, who was born in a manger, in poverty. And in that poverty and in that simpleness and ordinariness of Jesus did he save the world. And always in solidarity with the poor. And we'll have the poor among us. Might not be material poverty, but we have people who are spiritually poor, We have people who are of poverty of a different kind that needs our attention and love, that we can be able to remove them from that poverty. Some have academic poverty. Can we enrich them with our knowledge and help them become something better than we found them? They will always live with us. They will always live among us. Some have the name cousins, brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces. Love changes everything. If God's love changed me completely and became the person that I am today, your love, my love, our love can change absolutely everything around us and make it magical and make it worthwhile. So let us go out and love with our hearts and give it our all and give it our best. Do it for Jesus, because when you love them, you have already loved God. Love them first as yourself, and love yourself. Do not hate yourself. Do not think that you are so bad. God can fix you. God can make you better. Rely on His grace. Live with Him. Walk with Him. And that is what it is to be a saint. A saint is a sinner who keeps trying. Keep trying, my friend. Do not give up. Wake up again and walk. Let them laugh at you. So be it. But wake up and dust yourself and put your heads high and walk towards Jesus, to that eternal life that He prepares for all of you. May God so much fill your hearts with His love, that His love may be outpouring. It's too much for you to handle, that it bids you to share it with your brothers and sisters, more especially those in need.